It's late April 1945. American soldiers of the 45th Infantry Division, the Thunderbirds, are closing in on a sprawling complex outside Munich. They believe they're headed for a supply depot or armaments plant. And instead, they discover a scene straight from hell. A silent train of 39 cattle cars packed with the dead. 2,300 bodies, men, women, children, starved, beaten, left to freeze, even chewed by the living fighting for scraps of life. What happens next tests the limits of humanity, forces farm boys and factory hands to choose between discipline and vengeance, and leads General Patton to make an unforgettable decision about justice in war. If you're drawn to gripping true stories of courage, horror, and moral complexity, like and subscribe for more. April 29th, 1945. A chilly Sunday dawn under an overcast sky. The 45th Infantry Division, seasoned from battles in Italy and France, advances on what intelligence labels as an industrial site southwest of Munich. Near a rail spur, they come upon a stationary train. No chug of an engine, no whisper of life. Just 39 freight cars, doors shut tight. At first, the men think perhaps they've stumbled into a munitions shipment, but a foul stench in the biting air tells a darker tale. Lieutenant Robert Bobby Williams, curious and unsettled, pries open one car door. At first glance, he sees bodies heaped like refuse, some skeletal, some bloated by heat, others frozen stiff. He staggers back and utters a single hoarse cry. News spreads in seconds. Troops gather at the cars, parents curled around their children, limbs entangled in death, faces contorted by agony, eyes wide in eternal terror. Some corpses bear teeth marks, survivors so desperate they gnawed on the dead. No one can look away. Among the veterans stands Private John Lee, a 19-year-old Oklahoman who sinks to his knees in the snow, tears streaming freely down his face. Nearby, a comrade vomits into the white drifts. Yet grief soon hardens into fury. They hurl curses at the SS watchtowers looming beyond the camp's perimeter. Fingers tighten on rifle triggers. In that instant, the Geneva Convention seems a distant memory. Only one thought rings out: payback. Lieutenant Colonel Felix Sparks, the on-scene commander, raises his voice. Keep moving. Don't stare at the cars. But no order can unsee what they've witnessed. Over 2,000 dead souls press on their minds. Private Lee later recalls, "We were furious, so furious, we wanted every damn German dead." The Thunderbirds press on to the main gate. The camp commandant, Martin Weiss, has already fled. In his place stands Lieutenant Heinrich Wicker, flanked by roughly 500 Waffen-SS men. Wicker, young and aware the Reich is collapsing, craves the dignity of surrender. Clad in spotless uniform and shined boots, he strides out with a white flag, expecting the courtesy due an officer. Instead, an American lieutenant spits in his face. His hopes of a polite capitulation shatter. As the Americans enter, chaos erupts. Behind barbed wire, 30,000 prisoners, hollowed-out specters, pour toward the liberators. Their voices rise in hallelujahs, "America! America!" Yet while the inmates rejoice, the Thunderbirds' gaze shifts to their former captors. A band of SS guards stands near a coal yard, arms raised. They call out, "Hitler kaputt! Hitler is finished!" hoping these words might spare them. Lieutenant Jack Bushyhead, a Seminole officer, watches silently, pistol in hand, after glimpsing the crematorium's ovens still filled with human ashes. He glances at the SS men, healthy and arrogant, then at his own weary troops. No verbal command leaves his lips. Instead, he lifts his Thompson submachine gun in a single, unmistakable gesture. Line them up. Confusion reigns among the Germans, but they obey, pressed against a brick wall in groups of 50, pleading Geneva Convention in hopeless defiance. At Bushyhead's nod, Sergeant Bird-Eye Hart sets up his 30 caliber machine gun. The rat-tat-tat of heavy metal echoes across the snow. 10 relentless seconds of fire. When it ceases, bodies slump in heaps, the moat tinted red, coal dust and blood melding in the slush. Some guards still gasp in their final convulsions. Colonel Sparks hears the fusillade and dashes over. He draws his pistol and fires into the air. "Stop this at once," he roars. "What are you doing?" But the shooter's eyes are empty, though tears stream down his face. "Sir," he stammers, "they deserved it. This outbreak is not isolated." At Tower B, more SS troops attempting surrender are cut down as they descend ladders, falling into the moat. GIs empty magazines into the water to be sure no one lives. One private later writes home, "It wasn't war, it was execution, and I felt nothing. After seeing that train, they weren't human anymore." Yet the Americans are not the only ones, exacting revenge. Prisoners, gaunt but propelled by adrenaline, storm watchtowers and drag out hiding SS guards. Unarmed, wielding shovels, sticks, or their bare hands, they beat captives to death while GIs light cigarettes and look on. "Should we intervene?" an officer asks. "No," replies a sergeant. "Let them finish." Elsewhere, a prisoner capo known for brutal beatings is found in a latrine and drowned by his fellow inmates. For nearly an hour, Dachau becomes a lawless arena of corpses and retribution. Only when Sparks regains control does he lock surviving SS men in cells for their own protection from his enraged soldiers. News of these reprisals cannot be contained. Photographs surface. American troops standing over rows of corpses, machine guns smoking against a blood-soaked wall. In early May, an investigative team, led by Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Whitaker, arrives, gathering testimonies and cataloging the images. Their report is scathing. It documents clear breaches of international law and urges court-martial proceedings against those involved. The dossier lands on General George S. Patton's desk. Patton, famed for his strict discipline and polished appearance, flips through the damning pages. He sees pictures of the death train, of mangled SS bodies, and of the massacre at the coal yard. When an aide describes these acts as war crimes, Patton slams his fist on the desk. "War crimes?" he thunders. "You march troops into a scene of unimaginable brutality, 2,000 corpses on a single train, and expect them to play by rules? Hell no." These men snapped. It happens in war. Without hesitation, he refuses to sign off on any prosecutions. Some say he burned the report. Others claim he consigned it to a buried archive. Either way, the investigation dies. General Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander, consents. He knows well the impact of those photographs. Trying American soldiers for killing SS monsters, he decides, would shatter Allied morale. The charges are quietly dropped. Lieutenant Jack Bushyhead goes home to Oklahoma in peace, never speaks publicly of the killings, and dies in 1977, carrying the event like a dark medal. Today, historians view the Dachau reprisals as neither premeditated atrocity nor honorable duty, but as a raw human reaction to pure evil. Neo-Nazis may cite it to allege American brutality, but scholars understand it as the moment when the boundary between soldier and avenger dissolves. When faced with the sight of innocent children starved to death, can any professional remain untouched? The Thunderbirds chose vengeance that day, and Patton chose to shield them. At Dachau now stands a memorial to the 30,000 victims of the camp. There is no monument to the 50 SS guards executed on April 29, 1945. Their graves unmarked, their names forgotten. History remembers them as architects of horror, meeting their end at the hands of men scarred forever by what they found on a rail siding outside Munich. A veteran once confided, "I know killing prisoners is wrong, but in that place, at that time, it felt like the only right thing. And so we turn the hardest question back to you. If you had stood beside them and seen the death train, could you have held your fire? Be honest. Let me know in the comments. If you'd like more stories like these, please like and subscribe.